So we're joined tonight by Terry the Ironton Auditor. For those of you who don't know, Terry is obviously from the area of Ironton and was there when Chille decided to come to town.
Lucky me.
Oh, yes. And while we were talking a bit before the show, Terry told us a bit about his history pre-Chille, so I thought that might be useful to help set the scene. So, Terry, I believe you joined the forces when you left school.
Yes, I did. It was the Army. I was 91 Bravo, a combat medic.
And when did you leave?
Leave where?
The forces.
2001, March of 2001. I got my honorable discharge at the end of March of 2001.
After March of 2001, what did you do? Did you return to Ironton?
Yeah, I had never really left. It's always, I've kind of always been here. There was a time when I moved to Columbus for about 8 to 10 years, but really, other than that, I've always lived here. I wouldn't know anywhere else to call home.
Well, that's fair enough. What did you do for a living between that period and Chille arriving, if you don't mind us asking?
Well, you name it. I worked a little bit of everywhere, doing a little bit of everything. I've fixed a lot of stuff. I've built a lot of stuff. I've tore other stuff down. I've worked in sales. I've worked in fast food. I've worked in other restaurant pieces and parts. From regular crew and server all the way to management and a lot. So I've done management construction companies. I've done a little bit of everything here and there.
That sounds like an interesting and varied career.
Well, you know what they say: jack of all trades and master of none.
Oh, I wouldn't sell yourself short, Terry.
Is that a short joke? I don't know. I don't know if I like short jokes. That was kind of like putting the birds first, guys. Did you realize he just called me a bird brain? Just get that out there. I get it.
Well, I don't know. Remember, the emus did beat the Australian army. I'm not sure.
True that.
And apparently mastered tactics.
Definitely some wicked birds. I wouldn't want to have to take them on.
No, they're fairly large too. But then at some point, you became aware of Chille coming to town. How did that happen?
There was a guy that came to the house that I've known for a long, long time, and he knew that I followed a lot of the auditors. I had been watching them for years at that point. Many different ones. I wasn't like an avid watcher of any particular channel. I just watch a few as they come along here and there. And he said, "Hey, there's a First Amendment auditor in town." I'm like, "Really? Which one?" And because I didn't even know there was as many as there are. I was very limited in what I knew about it. And he told me about it, so I jumped on here. I found out that it was Chille. I watched part of the video of the Tim Lyons and Sarah Page story, and he was supposedly here to help them. And by this time had talked about helping a few others. So being the kind of guy I am, I got straight up. I realized in the live where he was at, and I went straight into Ironton where I knew he was, and I shook the man's hand and told him that if he was here to truly help people, then I was here to help him any way I could to achieve that. So that's how my meeting with Chille happened.
And you got involved, why?
Just because I wanted to. If somebody's going to help people, that's what I'm all about. And I help a lot of people, but it's usually one at a time. If there's a way to help 10 at a time or 30 at a time, I would do that as well. And for a time, I believed that he wanted to do that. I was not fully up on who this guy was. No, that I didn't know him from Adam. Just a guy claiming to be from California and, a constitutional scholar, whatever the hell that means. And, he was gonna help us out. So You know, I jumped in a hole
Yeah,
before I knew how deep it was. If that better explains what I did.
that's fair enough. And then you started working with him?
Well, I never really worked with him. Later that evening after I'd met him, I sat there for the entire evening while he interviewed different people about different things. And later that evening, I told him about a few of them that I knew that maybe were exaggerating some of their story, that it may not be 100% true as stated. He was going to eat, so a friend of mine and me went with him and a couple others to a restaurant and had well, they had dinner. I just drank coffee, but we all sat and talked and got to know each other a little bit. And he, for a time, sounded like somebody who, although I didn't necessarily agree with everything, I thought, hey, this guy maybe, maybe knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he sounded as if he was the real deal to you initially.
Yes, I believed it. Until I started to look into things that he had said. Because I have a way of doing that. But anyway, until I started to look at what he actually said and got to hear some of what he was actually saying. That night he had asked, I told him, I said, well, I'll help you any way I can. He said, are you always armed? Because of course I was. And I said, sure. It's like my American Express card. I don't leave home without it. And he said, well, I've had a few threats. Do you think you could maybe follow me around and just, like hang back and watch everybody and make sure it's cool? I said, sure, I can do that. So that's what I did. I went over the next morning and met him at the place where he was staying. And when I showed up, he seemed very happy. And he said, I feel safer now. I can go take a shower. And he went and took a shower, come out and, we started our day. And he went around talking into his camera all day, but I was always 20 or 30 yards behind him. So I didn't really hear what was going on into the camera. And when I got home late at night, I didn't have another 4 or 5 hours to spend watching the videos he had made for the day. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to be the nice guy.
Yeah, he is quite prolific in the amount of material he puts out when he gets going on something.
Oh, he can definitely throw it out there. That's for sure.
But I hadn't realized that initially he wanted you to be his bodyguard.
Well, yeah, kind of, I suppose. I hadn't really thought about it like that at the time. I just thought if it makes him feel safer, because I know the people here, and I know no one here is ready to do that kind of bodily, injury to the man at this point. It's just not something that's going to happen here, you know. So for me, I didn't really think of it that way at the time. But yeah, looking back, I assume maybe that's what he wanted. As a matter of fact, a funny story: the place where I met him, the little coffee shop where I met him, we were supposed to meet back there at 8 a.m. the next morning. I went back, and the owner happened to be there. And I got another cup of coffee and told him how much I enjoyed the coffee. There's really good coffee. And he after I left there, he said, well, somebody said that he was talking about having armed security today. And I looked at the guy and I'm like, is that what he said in his video? Because, like I said, I hadn't watched it. And apparently that's what he had said. And I told the guy, I said, well, as far as I know, I'm the only armed person. And if he's talking about me, I wouldn't exactly call myself armed security. That's not what I'm here for. And so I walked out, and because it was, still a little bit before he was going to get there, I walked out and they locked the shop down. They shut it down for the day, completely closed it. And
Well,
yeah, that was the first time I realized that for some reason he had went and made people feel that maybe they can't be safe around him. And I didn't like being drawn into that, because there's no reason for anyone to feel unsafe around me. I'm not a harmful person.
wow.
But
That's kind of shocking.
it did turn out to be my favorite coffee shop. Great coffee.
Well, at least something came out of the incident.
Yes, the owner and his wife and their kids, I've met them all. We've talked extensively, so they all know me now.
So at some point, he started discussing he wanted somebody to do auditing in Ironton.
Right. He and I had discussed auditing at length by this time, at different times, talked a little bit here and there.
Now, was this something you'd had an interest in doing prior to Chille?
Oh, yeah. I'd thought about it. I'd wanted to do it. Why not? I thought that maybe I knew a different way, not necessarily a better way, just a different way I could go out there and add my own flair to it, and see what's up. But I didn't really feel the the pull so much, so I never tried to make it a reality until he came along, and I felt a little bit inspired to do it. Some of the stories that I heard people tell about the police department and things, it really irked me. And I thought, if that's what's going on, somebody needs to be out here to find out. And so when he decided to ask me if I would, if I would get out and do this, that's when I agreed. And I agreed to go out there and investigate and, and see what I could see. So that's what I did.
Now, as I understand it, you, strangely enough, were not his first choice, shall we say, of who he wanted to do it.
No. I think he had 2 and possibly 3 people in mind ahead of me.
I take it they didn't want to do it.
Apparently not. They did not and have not, as far as I know.
Right. Do you have any personal idea on why that might be, that he didn't want you initially?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he realized that I am not as easily controlled. That I'm not necessarily. I'll do things to a point. I'll do what I'm told. I'm really good at that. That's the reason I was so good at any job I had. I usually excel quickly because I do what I'm told. I understand how to do that. But just because you tell me to do something does not necessarily mean that I'm going to carry it out. And maybe the job needs done, but maybe it doesn't need done the way you put it. And I think that, I think that in the end turned around and bit him right in the ass. He found out that was actually true. But, I'm assuming, and it's only an assumption, that the reason I wasn't his first choice is because he knew I wasn't really the kind of guy he was looking for.
Now, did you start auditing when he was there, or was this after he left?
I did not go out until after he had left. The day that I became and set up the channel Ironton Auditor, he had left that day. He was already gone from Ironton.
Okay. Now, he often claims, amongst numerous other things, that he covered the expenses of you starting up as an auditor.
Yeah, he claims a lot of shit. Well, as far as buying my phone, he tells everybody he bought me a phone. He didn't buy me a phone. I went to the AT&T store to have it turned on. It cost me $110 that day to have the phone, to have all the connection fees and everything paid so that I would actually have a working camera phone in order to audit. Chille, Cashapp me $110 that day. He showed it. I have shown it. He showed all the receipts, so I went back and showed all the same receipts and and explained how it worked. And there you go. When I went to Cincinnati for him, I don't know if you want to ask me more yet, or if you want me to go ahead about the money.
Now, when you went to Cincinnati, that was after he left?
Yes. Everything I did started after he left.
We'll come to that bit in a minute.
Okay.
Now, you were there, of course, at his infamous arrest.
Yes. Well, I wasn't there at the moment he was arrested. I was in the building before it closed. I left. I was outside when they brought him out back in handcuffs when they arrested him for trespassing.
Now, how did you all end up at that building?
Well, it started earlier in the day. He had called Shauna at the time. You'll hear him in the video talking to a lady named Shauna. I assume other people in the community know who she is. I don't. But he was telling her that he needed room to have a class. He was going to have a rights, class, teach people about their rights and things, and which sounds like, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Maybe some people would turn up for that. And we went to a local restaurant, and it was standing room only in a very small space, and he decided that wasn't big enough. And as we're walking back, he's on the phone with her telling her he needs a place for like 2, maybe 300 people. And I'm thinking, there's like 3 of us here. But that's what he's saying into the phone to her. And, he walks into the city building and just decides on the spot, and really unbeknownst to the rest of us, because we're just kind of trying to figure out how the day's going to play out and where we're going to sit down and have this class. He decides right then and there that he's going to use the city building. And he had filled out the paper they asked him to fill out. He refused to wait 24 hours for it to be reviewed. He refused the idea that the average citizen doesn't normally rent that, for their own personal uses. And he, he stayed and decided to call it a protest, and got arrested for trespassing.
Now, were you there when he started his rant with the janitor?
That was actually that was not in the city court building. That was in the county courthouse. And the guy was just coming over to vacuum the rug right there in front of the clerk's office. It was close to the end of the day. He's just trying to do his job so he could go home.
Okay. So there are two separate occasions in the governmental buildings of the city where he starts having rants.
In Ironton, it's important to understand that we have two separate law enforcement agencies inside Ironton. We have our county seat in Ironton as well. So not only do we have the city, its municipal buildings, judges, and the Ironton Police Department, we also have the entire county courthouse and all the county government, which includes our county sheriff and county jail. The Ironton city does not have a jail. It's actually just the county jail that's in Ironton. So, there's two different courthouses, two different police agencies. You know what I mean? There's two different of everything, and a lot of people misunderstand, so they have it kind of jumbled into one.
Yeah. Well, I did. I thought those were the same incident. So after he decides he's going to have this public meeting.
Now, hold on a second. I may be mistaken. There was a second time that you are correct. He did get into it with the janitor at the Ironton City building that day. I forgot that his name is Shannon. He's a really good guy. I talked to him right then. I talked to him about Chille and what Chille was doing. And, he said, man, my hands are tied. He said, I want to go home to my family. I got dinner on the table and, I can't stay here and clean up after he leaves tonight, maybe tomorrow. And I said, man, I understand. I have no problem with that. I talked to him at great length. And that was the one Chille was hollering at. I'm sorry. I forgot about that guy.
Hey, it's all right.
There's been a lot happen. Been a lot happened during the Chille saga, and so much since that it seems like so long ago now.
Now, on that day, did any of you who were there with Chille try to encourage him to just follow the rules?
There was no way to encourage Chille. The main reason is because most people with him, just like I was, didn't want to run up and interrupt a live video. This guy is kind of strange, and he's kind of charismatic, and people just kind of stay out of his way and let him run about. I mean, if you turned him loose in a china shop, it'd be like turning loose of a bull. He's a big bully. It doesn't come off that way at first. He just seems what's the word I'm looking for? He seems to be that alpha male that he claims to be in the beginning. So people give him enough rope to hang himself. Now why the rest of them did get up and leave out of there, I don't know. I don't know if they thought this was going to work out. I don't know if they were all ready to go to jail, but I wasn't.
And then at some point, the staff in the city building, I presume, ask you to leave and inform you that it's closing time.
Yes, they were telling him that. I was already out by that point. I was out of there about 5 or 10 minutes before they actually tried to close the building.
What led to you leaving early, if you like?
Well, it's closing time. I'm not stupid. Now, if you want to hold a protest, that's fine. I'll go outside and protest all day with you. But I do understand that the building is closing. And that's the same with any building, whether it be government or private. At the time the doors are locked, it's just like a man's house. If he tells you to get out, I'm locking the doors, you leave. He's locking the doors. That's the way that works. If you do not, that is considered trespassing, and that is breaking the law. And if he wants to tell me I am for the rule of law, and I look at him and say I am for the same thing, well, I'll prove it. Because if I know the law, I will follow it. Because I expect everyone else to.
Okay, so you went outside. What happened next?
I was out there for a while because they were in there for a bit, and then I guess you guys know more about what happened on the inside than I do because I was out there alone. There was no one out there with me. And, there were only like 4 inside with him. It's not like there was a big crowd. And the
Yeah.
Ironton Police Department apparently came in, arrested him, and didn't say anything to the rest of them other than get the hell out, it's closed, which I'm thankful to them for that. That they didn't arrest all the people that were with him, realizing that they were just misunderstanding what was taking place. I'm glad that they had that discretion and used it well.
And then I presume he came out past you?
Who? Chille?
Yeah, with the...
Actually, they brought him out. Right on the back side of the city building is the police department. It takes up the back side of the same building as the municipal court and the municipal building. So basically, the front entrance to the police department is like the back door of the city building. It's locked inside, so you can't go from one to the other. You have to walk around. But I was around back where the actual entrance to the police station is. That's where they brought Chille out, which I knew that's where they'd bring him out if they arrested him.
Did he say anything when he was brought out?
Yeah, he was asking me to get his wallet and everything, and I stepped up to grab it, and one of the police officers said, "Don't come over here." And I said, "I'm sorry, I was just trying to get his stuff. That's it. I'm not, I'm not trying to jump in here." And it was a bit of confusion. One of the officers told me to go ahead and grab it, and just as I started to grab it, one of them from the other side of the car started screaming at me for being in the scene. It was a little tense, for me anyway. But other than trying to get his stuff to me so that I could make sure that he got his bail, that was what was supposed to happen. Although I never got the stuff,
And then he's taken off to the jail, I presume.
Yes.
Then, at some point, bail is organized for him.
Right. We were up in front of the sheriff's department where actually a lot of people joined us. It was a pretty good crowd up there, maybe about, 25, 30. It was a pretty good little crowd that showed up. And there was one particular gentleman who, when they finally decided how much the bail was, he went straight to the ATM and pulled it out. Chille had it supposedly, but I couldn't get the payment information, or neither could anyone else, to get it to them. So this guy went and took out the money out of his own account. He walked in, paid the bail in cash, and 2 days later, Chille gave me a check, which I then took back to that gentleman.
Okay. Now, I presume once the bail was paid, Chille was released.
Right.
And he came out to all you lot outside.
Yes. They had
Did
confiscated his phone, but they let him go. I'm sorry?
Did he say anything to you guys?
He had a lot to say to a lot of people, but you have to realize I was always outside the inner circle. I always stood outside. First of all, I'm a small guy. Secondly, I am armed, so I don't get up inside in the middle of much of any kind of a crowd. Nowhere where I could be compromised with a weapon. So I always stand on the outside of the crowd. So he had a lot to say to a lot of people, but I can't attest to everything that he said because I couldn't hear it.
Was it generally on the lines of, "Oh, thanks, guys, I appreciate you getting me out,"
Well, he was
that
definitely
kind of stuff, or was it more hate the police, burn the place to the ground?
Well, he wasn't like that then. He was bitching about his phone. And, then later he started talking about finding blood on the walls. And, he had a big story, about the inside for someone who really didn't see the inside much.
Yeah. How long was he actually inside the police building for?
The actual jail, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe 3 at the most. It really wasn't long. I mean, as soon as they got him processed and set the bail, it was paid. You know what I mean? Within minutes of them saying, "Hey, it's $1,500." This guy was on his way to the ATM to get it. So,
Okay. It's just the way he makes it sound as if he was in there, for years.
Yeah. No, he wasn't in there that long, and he was only in one particular part of it. So it isn't like he got a really good jail experience there. And even he admitted that they put the cuffs on so light that even over his sweatshirt, it wasn't cutting him or anything. And remember, this is the same guy who always talks about torture cuffs and everything. And then he had to admit that they were absolutely nothing but nice and respectful to him, even though they had to arrest his ass for trespassing and take him to jail.
Now, after that, what happens next that day, or was it the following day, that I presume he starts wanting to protest some more about them having confiscated his phone and his little bit of humiliation?
It turned into a thing. He's going to file lawsuits, right? He's going to show us all how to do this, how to do it legally, right? How to do it the right way, because we're supposed to be doing things by the book and by the law. So he decided that he would, he wrote out a paper. I took it to him asking for the phone back. It was a big rigmarole, over that phone. It was a whole big thing. I supposedly served paperwork that asked for the phone back. And then when they wouldn't adhere to that, then he sent me to Cincinnati to file civil rights lawsuits. So somehow it turned in from them keeping his phone to civil rights violations. There was a lot of what I didn't understand. A lot of jumping from one thing to another didn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, which I'm guessing is something you just put down to lack of knowledge about how the law works.
Well, I never claimed to know everything. I'm a lot more read about the law as far as court law now than I was then. I had no idea, and I was trying to figure out how.
You just put it down to stuff you didn't know. This is all perfectly normal, but you just went, well, I don't know how it works, but I guess it works this way.
I assumed I was the dumbass, right? For a moment, I assumed I must be dumber than this guy. Maybe he does know what he's talking about. I'll give him a minute to prove it.
So then you went up to Cincinnati. Now, here's where we get another fun one. I believe you made, it was 2 or 3 trips up there?
I made three separate trips on 3 consecutive days.
Now, he claims to have paid you for these trips.
Well, he gave me $100 for each of those trips. But understand, I had to put 50 in the gas tank. So there goes half of it immediately. The first day I paid 30 for parking at one place. I paid 15 for parking at another place because I didn't know where I was going, right? He just said, go up there and find a print shop. So I went up there and found a print shop, but it wasn't that kind of print shop. So I had to move across and find another print shop that was that kind of print shop. And then they took me from that print shop to another print shop that they had already chosen and had supposedly sent the stuff to. So I drive there and wait almost 6 hours that day waiting on them to send the paperwork to be printed, which it never got sent the first day. So he called and said, we'll chalk it up to bad timing. You'll be back in the morning. It's all right. So I went home, and the next morning it started over again. I got the same $100, did almost the same thing. I saved an extra 30 in parking because I knew where not to park this time, right? And then, so I get up there and they get it printed, or they start printing it like 10 minutes before the federal courthouse closes for the day. It closes at like 4:30 and they're printing this shit off at like 4:25, literally. Right. So they get this shit printed off and I get it all thrown together and run over there and I'm too late. It's closed. So I have to go back the third day. And I realize, coming home, I start reading through this paperwork and I'm pointing out all this crap that this is misspelled. This looks like crap. Does this have to be right? Is it okay if it looks like a third grader wrote it? And so I start asking these questions and he's like, no, that's not okay. We'll have to fix all that. It'll be fine in the morning. We'll have it all fixed. Okay. So the third day, my car is broken down. He sends me in Eugene's truck, and Eugene has an F-250. It's not meant for long trips like that, 3 hours, one-way trips, 6-hour trip. It was way expensive in gas. He gave me that same $100, so I ended up putting 80. We put everything he gave us. He gave Eugene 100, gave me 100. We put that in for gas. We got us something to drink. And then on the way home, I ended up putting in an additional $80 out of my own pocket to make sure that we had enough gas, at which point Chille had Cashapp me 50 of that back. So I was still 30 down there. Every time Chille supposedly paid me to do something, every time I had to come out of my own pocket to help pay printing expenses and all that kind of stuff just to get through,
So when he says he paid you, really what he did was pay you some of the costs involved in doing.
All he tried to do was pay some of the expenses. He never paid me to do anything. That's not how this
Yeah.
worked. It wasn't like he said, "Hey man, I'll give you $100 if you do this." He said, "If you do this, I'll give you $100 to help with gas and shit." I'm like, okay, if you're gonna pay for the gas for me to get up there and back, sure, no problem. It's just a trip to me. But no,
Now,
he never paid me to hit the streets. He damn sure never paid me for a single audit. It's nothing like that. And even the receipts he shows doesn't show thousands of dollars like he claims it does. And I challenge everybody to go back and look.
well, from what you've said, I've been keeping a rough running total, and we're under $500.
Well, there's definitely no thousands, I can tell you that. He led people to
Yeah.
believe that he gave me thousands of dollars and paid me to hit the streets of Ironton.
Yeah, this doesn't sound the way he's trying to portray it. Now, at some point with these legal papers, you were put in contact with his then legal advisor, Bobby Law.
I'm sorry. That name makes me laugh a lot. Bobby Law was supposedly the law brain behind this entire freaking federal court fiasco. This was the guy who was supposed to be typing all this out, who obviously can't spell much better than a fifth grader. You know what I mean? So this is the guy that all of our hopes are pinned on, and that's he played a recording of Eugene calling him the third day that I had been there, the first day that Eugene had been there. And you can hear me screaming and cussing in the background. I was pretty mad, because I felt like this guy's making me look like a total idiot. I keep walking in here, these ladies at the federal courthouse looking like a total moron because these other assholes that I'm trying to represent here don't even know how to type up paperwork correctly. Can't even tell me how to fill out a cover sheet. The final day, all I needed to know was how to fill out a cover sheet. I waited 4.5 hours for a phone call to fill out a cover sheet that never came. All I needed to know was which box to check in one particular part, had the rest of it filled out. So that's the kind of craziness that I was dealing with,
That's insane.
It's like I was trying to play cards with my brother's kids or something, It's terrible.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I was angry. I was angry, very angry.
After this, there's a city council meeting.
That was when he came back. He came back a couple weeks later. He had left.
He
was
left
gone
for
for
a
a week or two. Yes, yeah, I believe it was about 2 weeks. Don't quote me to the exact day, but I think it was about 2 weeks. And then he came back, and he didn't stay here. He stayed in Huntington, West Virginia. But he traveled into Ironton. He went to one of the city council meetings and went to the car auction there.
Now, I believe there was a bit of an incident at the city council meeting.
Oh, yeah, he went in and ran his mouth there, made a fool of himself.
And this was over the increasing of the towing fees?
I think that was one of the problems that he had, and it's because he doesn't know how to do math. He's trying to say it went up $125. It didn't. It went up $25 to $125 is what happened. Simple clerical error, but then Chille and his team are fraught with clerical errors. Just saying.
And then he decided that everyone should turn up armed at the car auction.
Oh, he asked people to come to he asked people to come to that city council meeting armed. On one of his videos before that one, yes, he asked them to come armed to the city council meeting. And then the next night, or the next couple nights, whenever it was, he was at the auction and asked them to turn up armed there. Both times, as far as I know, the same guy showed up, by the way.
Were you at these two events? Or
No, I was not at either of those events, because by then I had Chille had already turned on me, and I already found out who he was. I wouldn't have been associated with him in any way, and I didn't want to be there because I always am armed, and I did not want any law enforcement to assume for a second that I was there for Chille. I didn't want to put myself in a dangerous situation, so I stayed the hell out.
So when you say you and him had already had a falling out by this point, what led up to that falling out?
It was a few days before that when he first came back. He came back to go for the trespassing charge, right?
Mm.
And I believe he had asked for a continuance, and it got continued, which is how he skipped the bail and all that. But um, he and I were out on the front of the city building there, and he was first of all screaming and cussing me because I did not scream and cuss the police. He was, telling me what my job was as if I worked for him. So we had a brief falling out there face to face. And I had to explain to this asshat that I don't work for you, bub. I'm not your employee. You'll not tell me what to do and govern my behavior when I'm in public. I'll take care of that myself. Thank you. And he found out that I was somebody had sent him a screenshot. I was in on Kate's channel, and I had typed into the chat, "Thank you for the information you sent me." That was it. That's all I said. That's what he had a screenshot of. But because I was in a troll channel's chat, then I was a dead set enemy to him, according to him. I think it's because he realized what information I was getting.
Now, what had led you going into, as he puts it, a troll channel's chat?
Tina Slay Richardson and Larry Flynnoid are exactly who led me there. I'd somehow stumbled. I started trying to do my own research on Chille and Jose and all these names and figure out what was going on. And I found Tina Slay Richardson's when Larry Flynnoid recorded the phone call talking with Chille in Missouri while Chille was staying with Tina Slay Richardson. And that's, the first time that I heard anything about any of that. And I reached out to Tina by message, and she responded. And ever since then, we've had each other's phone numbers. And Tina's a very, very close friend of mine. I love Tina. Tina's a very strong, courageous woman. Anybody that doubts that doesn't know who she is yet, And she pretty much took me under her wing, took me by the hand, and said, "Look, Terry, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to show you this person, and they have this, and they have that." And so I started going through the community asking these questions. So I got to talk to people like Blue Bacon and Kate, and all these Skeptic and Demon and all these big, huge channels who had known this goober long before I did, and were able to fill in some of the blanks and tell me a little bit about Chille and who he was.
So now you were starting to have more than doubts. You would, I suppose, say that you were starting to have serious concerns?
Oh, yeah. Concerns is an understatement. I've got Chille going off on me like I've done something wrong, and he's a total retard. He's doing things that just don't make any sense at all. His team's not working like it's supposed to, and when they screw up something, they spend their time screaming at me like I'm the one who did something wrong, and all I'm doing is stand here waiting on them to print paperwork. So it was a fiasco. But to find out who he was and start finding out the things about him, it clicked. I started to understand he's just a narcissistic fool, and what he said is true. He is narcissistic, and he does do everything for his own. He told me that. He said, "As long as you understand that everything I do for me." I said, "I understand, but I don't care why you do it. As long as you're helping people, I'm going to help you do that." When I discovered that there was no way he could help people and all he was going to do was screw everything up, yeah, that's when I had to step back.
Now, you say his team, and he always portrays that he's working alone. But it's your understanding from your interaction with him that at that time he was most definitely not working alone.
Well, he was not working alone, because not only did I know Bobby Law was supposedly typing all the paperwork, I was on video chat with Bobby Law the day I quote unquote served paperwork all through Ironton. I had him on video call in between each thing, telling me exactly where to go and exactly who to give it to. So I seen him face to face. So I know that he is on the team. I know he talked to Shauna. I know there are other names that I've heard thrown around, and he talks about having this legal team. So my assumption was that he had a team. I didn't realize that he had 3 or 4 bumbling freaking idiots who had no idea what they were doing that he had billed to me as a team. I found all this out, as I started to go through it. I really, like I say, I jumped in a hole before I knew how deep it was. I was dumb enough to believe what he told me. And I wish that I had watched his videos so I could have seen that he'd say the opposite later. I just didn't. So I didn't know for a bit.
Now, amongst those, I know it's only a small percentage of the population of Ironton who were involved with Chille, but
Right.
I'm guessing at this time that people are starting to looking at Chille in a different light.
Well, I tell you what, if he comes back here today, he's not going to get the welcome that he got the first time around. I pretty much guarantee it. 99% of the people are not going to be happy to see him show back up. Now that the majority are starting to learn about because there are still some people in that town who have no idea who he was, the fact that he was ever here and that there's ever been a YouTube video made about it. Know that. There are absolutely people there who have no idea because Chille's not that important, and neither am I. The only difference is I don't claim to be. But people have seen me out, because I'm out there all the time. They do know me, and they know part of the story, and they realize that I am there to help if I can. And if I can't help, I am absolutely not there to hurt. Everybody knows that. So, compared to Chille, yeah, he will not like it if he comes back.
Now, when he left and fled the hearing they wanted to have about revoking his bail, what was the general feeling about those who were involved at that time?
Those who were involved in which side? Which are you talking about?
With Chille, those who'd been involved with him, the ordinary citizens of Ironton.
A lot of people here in the beginning turned against me. They turned against me because I'm not like other auditors, and they believed what Chille said without checking. They believed that now I was lying, saying that he had a criminal record when he didn't, that what Chille said was true. It's like playing a bad game of Simon Says. If Chille says it, there are for some reason, when they sit and stare into that TV or phone or whatever it is that they're watching, they're staring into Chille's eyes. They're caught up in this Chille said stuff. And because Chille said, it seems to be true. It sounds good. I'll believe it. And they walk away with this idea of the world that has no basis in reality whatsoever, even if some of the things he said are true. You know what I mean? Well, his general consensus makes no sense to anybody. And unfortunately, most people had never gotten a dose of Chille like I did. They didn't know anything about his past because he wouldn't tell them. He just told them everything they heard was a lie, at this point. It finally devolved into what you all know about Chille now. But back when he was here, the being able to prove that he had a criminal record was actually kind of tough to do for a minute. Now everybody knows. Back then, it wasn't as widespread, and we didn't know. Now people are starting to figure it out. But there were a lot of people who hated me, and they followed him anyway. They believed in him, and they thought I was somehow going to damage what he was trying to do.
Were you there when the schools were put into soft lockdown because of his presence on the grounds?
Yes. Yes, I wasn't with Chille, but yes, I was. Of course, I'm always here. He had actually went up and he had pulled on the door, not being smart enough to understand that like 99% of the schools in the country are always locked. Like you can't just walk in, not even parents can. You can't just walk in the door. But he had walked up, and it was at night. It was like a dance or something they were having. And he was, I guess, acting like he's going to go in and interview people from what I understand. I didn't watch the video. But he had went up and started pulling on the doors. I did see a clip, where he's yanking on the door trying to open it. He's going to walk right up in there. So yeah, hell yeah, they put the school in lockdown. You got a crazy fool coming out at a kid's dance trying to get in to interview teenagers about what? About being raped in the bathrooms by police? That's not something a YouTuber needs to have his hands in the middle of the night during a school dance. But he's not smart enough to know that.
Well, yeah, and don't think that's something a YouTuber should have their hands in at any point.
I'm worried that maybe there might still be a teenager or two here who he seems to captivate. I hear him talk, and I hope it's not true. I hope he's just a liar like everything else. But it does scare me to think that there might be a girl or two who have this crush-like view of him, because they're young and they don't really know what they think they know. That happens when you're young. I'm not trying to insult the girls if they're listening. I'm just trying to say mature a little bit and know who Chille really is, because he's dangerous. I promise you, he can't bring good to your life.
I don't think it's insulting. I think all of us can accept that at some point we were young and dumb.
Right. But when you're young and dumb, you're not smart enough to realize you're not that smart yet. So you get offended, is what I mean.
Yeah. So he leaves, and then at some point you decide to go ahead and do auditing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I had went in for a different reason. I didn't go in to stop Terry versus Ohio and create transparency with 6 cameras and a fucking double-decker bus. I didn't go in on for all that. I went in because I had heard things about what the local police were doing to people in my little hometown, right? And I didn't like what I heard. And the only way I'm going to know is if I get out there with a camera and find out. So I went out there with a camera to find out.
And your intention was to document if any of these incidences were happening.
Right. If these guys are pig tyrants, like Chille says, it'll show. If they are not, like they say, it will show. And either way, you, the audience, will get to decide because you'll see what I see and you'll hear what I hear. There you go. How much easier can it get? We'll all decide together what we see.
Yeah. So you start auditing, and I'm not sure if all of our viewers have seen your show, but in essence, you start the camera rolling when you get to Ironton, and that camera then rolls the entire time you're out.
Well, it does now. And in the beginning, I just uploaded videos. I didn't really know anything about going live. It wasn't a thing, and then later, one night I decided to try it. I never dreamed, I got to be honest. It humbles me so much that so many people will literally ride around that town for 6 to 8 hours with me in an uncut video and have the time of their lives in my chat. We have a really good time together every weekend. And I couldn't ask for a better group. It just humbles me and amazes me that they stick with me like that. I don't know if I'm that entertaining, but they definitely stick around and I appreciate it.
You definitely make it entertaining. Your interaction with the chats and your wife or partner, I'm not sure whether you're married or not. I've never asked you, to be
Well,
honest.
we're not legally married, no, but I call her my wife. Might as well. She's close as you can get without the state agreeing.
And the interaction between you and your wife also makes it hilarious to watch, because you are literally just like the rest of us, and it's a typical husband-wife relationship. You'll bag on each other a bit, and sometimes
Well,
you'll get the upper hand, and frequently you won't.
Well, I hardly ever do, to be honest. I tell people that there came a time when she wanted a cat and I did not want a cat. So we had to compromise and we got a cat. So you know how that goes. That's being married, but we don't have characters. See, here's the thing. If you want to call it a show, I don't know if I like calling it a show. Maybe I'll just call it my channel. I don't know, our channel, but we don't have characters that we play. We're not out there trying to act away so that you're entertained. We just go out and let you into our lives as we are every day. So, you just get right around with me being me and her being her, and it's organic no matter how it comes out, I promise.
And also, you and your sister are hilarious.
No doubt.
Especially
No
when we try
doubt.
and get your sister to sing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. In the
Which she
beginning,
still
it's funny.
hasn't, by the way.
No, no, maybe I'll get her into it one night. She, when she first came into the chat the first time, she started making cracks about my height. And it was funny because the chat turned on her in a second, like piranha on a piece of raw meat. They were about ready to eat her up, and I had to explain them, like, guys, hold on. That is actually my baby sister. She doesn't mean any true insult about it. It's all for the fun of it. And then within another week or so, I even had people in my chat who had never said anything like that to me at all, joking about my height. So finally, it broke the ice, and now we can all just be ourselves and have fun together.
Yeah, well, that's how it should be. The interaction with the chat is a big part of what makes, especially the longer streams, enjoyable for
Well,
everyone.
not to mention, could you imagine me just looking into a camera and talking for 8 hours straight if I didn't have anyone to have a conversation with? And when you're out in a car, especially when I'm alone, it's even worse. Then all I have is my chat. I found out real quick that I don't really have a show. I don't have anything to show you. I'm driving through empty streets 90% of the time. So, my chat became the show. It is about them. Those are the ones I'm trying to unite anyway, So welcome, any and all.
Now,
Glad to have them.
how long have you been doing it for now with the channel?
Maybe about 9 months, 8, 9 months, something like that. Somewhere in there. I think April the 1st will be a year. I think April Fool's Day. As a matter of fact, if you can believe that, how ironic is that?
Wow, it's always fun when things like that work out. In that time, have you come across any police interactions that made you feel uncomfortable?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been on a few stops. The very first one was probably the worst, even though it, he was very nervous, and so was I, and I think we both read that. But I got out of the car expecting a whole different experience. You have to realize I got out expecting what I seen on other auditors' cameras. That's what I expected, but that's not what happened. And because that's not what happened, you've never seen me act like one of the other auditors, you know. So it changed things. But yeah, depending on the agency that's out, depending on the particular officer or patrolman that's out, yeah, it can get a little tense sometimes.
Has there been any that you've covered that made you sit there and think, no, what these police are doing is wrong. They're abusing this person?
Yes, here and there, small things. Not, I mean, ain't been nobody beat, tased, and murdered or anything, obviously, but yeah, small things. A lot of crazy little pretextual stops, like you have a plastic frame over your license plate, so I'm going to pretend like that's an obstruction and pull you over. Those kinds of things. I think they're way abusing some of it. I think my videos show that without me having to say that necessarily. Anybody that watches my videos can pretty well see what happens. I don't hide anything. I just let it roll.
So, not wanting to put words in your mouth now, but you would describe the negatives you've seen when you're out doing this as minor,
Well,
not so
most
much
of it, I don't.
major.
A violation of rights is never minor, but here's the thing. Can you prove that it was a violation, right? Some things
Mm.
I suspect might have been, but I got there late. They were already searching. I can't prove, right? And there's a couple. What I'm going to do is I have a second channel, and I started talking about it last night with Leducator, and I'm going to start reviewing some of my own videos and things on that channel. We'll talk about some of the local news, some of the things that are happening here, and I will also review a few videos that maybe I want to get a little bit more into and talk a little bit more about to the community. And a lot of these things you have to realize that if I see something that I wonder about, usually I'll go to the captain or the chief about it. I don't necessarily try to cause a big scene on the sidewalk because that's not really going to help. That's going to embarrass and hurt the ego of the patrolman out there and maybe make the situation worse. Rather than do that, as long as no one's getting hurt, no one's getting beat and tased, you know what I mean? They get to go on their way. They weren't arrested, even though it may have been a minor violation. I will consider that minor because they got to leave and there was nothing there, right? And so, something like that, I would rather voice in the background, hoping that a little bit of talking to and retraining about how to properly do your job as a law enforcement officer will bolster better policing. Because unfortunately, unlike most auditors, I'm smart enough to know that we're always going to have police. Whether you agree that we should or should not is irrelevant. That argument is moot. We're going to have them. So if we're going to have them, then let's, as the people, make sure that these are good guys and that they do have our best interests at heart when they hit the streets at night with a badge and a gun.
That makes sense. Now, you're obviously friends with Chad Goo, Leducator.
Yes, in the beginning, I wouldn't have called us friends. He did, but it was more of an acquaintance for me. But over time, he has become my friend, I will say.
Now, did you
Surprisingly,
know him
surprisingly,
before?
I have a cop friend as an auditor. Surprisingly,
Yeah. But did you know him before you got into auditing, or is that something that's come from auditing?
Oh, I never knew any of the Ironton Police Department before I became an auditor. I had never met any of them before in any way, personally or not. I didn't even see them out. I used to always say that I never seen that many people pulled over in Ironton. So, I thought they just didn't get out and mess with people that much.
Mm. Now, Chille famously has an issue with Chad, specifically Chad, more than any other police officer.
So I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Chille specifically has an issue with Chad more than any other police officer.
Yes.
Now, in your time that you've known Chad, have you seen him do anything where you would be like, no, I'm not okay with that?
Are you talking about Captain Chad? No, I've not seen Captain Chad act in a way that I would think needed retraining or discipline whatsoever in his personal life or when he's got on his badge.
See, when we're talking to you, and we believe you, Terry, it's a very different tale from the one Chille likes to weave about what went on there and the people involved.
Well, sometimes some of the stories that Chille tells are not about the Ironton Police Department. That was my point in trying to explain. We have two different law enforcement agencies in Ironton. 99% of what people were complaining and talking about was not necessarily inside the city of Ironton. It was inside the county of Lawrence, which Ironton is in. And that deals directly with the sheriff's department. And what happens inside the jail is, of course, out of IPD's hands because it's not their jail. It's the county jail. The Ironton City Police Department does not have a jail. They don't even have a holding cell. You go straight to the county jail.
It would seem not to make much point or financial value in them having a jail or a holding cell when there is the county jail so close by.
Right. They even use their dispatch. Ironton doesn't even have its own dispatch. They use the county sheriff dispatch for that.
Well, it saves them quite a bit of money, I'm imagining, which of course means they don't have to get as much money in taxes.
I would assume.
Which we all like the idea of.
Well, I'm sure they get just as much money in taxes. They just spend it elsewhere, is my that's the way I figure.
Well, yeah.
They're going to tax you anyway.
It never works out that they don't tax you.
Did you know I went and fixed Captain Chad's truck once? I went and put a ball joint on it, and Chille about lost his frickin' mind because I went and helped fix that cop's truck. He thought that was like the worst sin ever.
Oh. Really?
Oh, it was terrible.
You decided to be a decent human being?
Yeah, well, some people don't understand that whenever I say there are some good cops, I understand that auditors say if there was one good cop, he'd turn in all the bad cops. Well, here's the problem with that. They're outnumbered. And if there is a good cop who is in what we might agree could be a bad, corrupt place to work, regardless of which city or town it's in across the nation, the good ones will definitely be in the minority the way everybody speaks. And if that's true, they can't just jump up and become the hero, or their brothers in blue, quote unquote, so to speak, would treat them worse than the criminals they normally apprehend every day, right? They would see them as a traitor within. So if you believe one thing about the police, then you have to understand that it is our duty as people, as we the people, to grow up, be responsible, be moral, and stand for these guys so that they can be the heroes. The only people that are going to protect the good ones are us, and the only ones that are going to point out the bad ones are us. They are not able to. They want to, but they can't be the hero by themselves, guys, no more than I can.
Now, everyone knows about the famous cage fight that never happened between Chad and Chille. What people may not realize is that there was a second fight that was called by Chille to happen.
A second fight?
Yes, I believe Chille called you out for a fight as well.
Yeah, he called me out to the Kentucky border one night, so I made a little video of crossing that border. ZXL Master then turned it into a little thing where he put some violin music behind it called Don't Poke the Mountain Bear. It's pretty funny. But, I drove across the bridge to show him, hey, now Ironton Auditor's here on the Kentucky border waiting on you, pal. Where are you at? So the next evening, after I had done that, he made a video explaining, 10 or 15 different reasons of why he wouldn't fight me right after he had called me out. See, Chille has a bad habit of issuing a challenge. And when a real man, a real alpha steps up and accepts the challenge, he runs away and challenges another man.
Was knee pressure one of his excuses for why he couldn't meet you on the border?
Oh, no, he doesn't need knee pressure for me. He just talked about my stature and my old manness and the fact that I smoke, as if that has anything to do with being able to slap him till he cries like a little child.
So that's slapping once then. I think it would only take one slap before he's crying like a little child.
Well, remember, Chille is 100% shit. It's just 50% bullshit and 50% chicken shit. That is 100% Chille.
Now, at some point, your auditing took a little bit of a different turn from even the other good auditors that are out there, and you decided to get involved with the homeless problem.
Yes. It's funny because I had mentioned early on when I first started this that maybe someday I could use this platform, and I figured it'd be years from now, but maybe I could use this platform to do some good along the way. Maybe we could maybe try to help the homeless or the vets or do something like that. And as fate would have it, it just kind of opened up right in front of me, right in my lap one night, and gave me the opportunity. And when it came, I latched on, of course. Why wouldn't I? If I can help, that was the entire point of me starting this. If I can help somebody, I want to make sure that I do that. If nobody helps the underdog, then how are they ever going to rise to the top again? Not everybody that's homeless is there because they chose to be. They're not necessarily there because of drugs. Some of them are, of course. I wouldn't argue with that. There are some of them that just need you to reach out a hand. You give them a hand up, help them step up on the curb, they're good from there. They'll take it. You know what I mean? They just need to get their life back.
And you were getting quite a bit of donations from your viewers and then using them to buy things for.
Well, I didn't. I got a little bit of money, but not nearly the amount of money that I got in stuff that people had donated. There was somebody who donated, it was like 30 toboggans, zippered hoodie sweatshirts, packs of socks. And I mean, she just bought hundreds of dollars of stuff and just had it drop shipped from Amazon. I had another gentleman drop ship me 4 sleeping bags and 10 tarps and various other items. And then I had a lady meet me who had backpacks already filled full of stuff and a bag of feminine hygiene products that I would be able to give to the ladies that I found. And it's just that not only, through YouTube, but the local community, pitched in a little bit so that we could try to help these people.
Well, that's really good to hear. Knowing you as I do, I'm guessing you're continuing your work with the homeless.
Well, it's actually on hold for the moment because I have not found this huge homeless population that was spoken of. I keep hearing people talk about it and where I'll find it, but I haven't found that huge population that they're making like is out there, right? So for the moment, I've asked people to back off on the donations because I don't want to have like a storage shed to store all this stuff in until I find someone to give it to, right? So, I've handed out everything that I have now, and I think I have 2 backpacks left and a couple various items, and I spent the money I set up a totally separate Cashapp for the homeless. That way we can be transparent about everything, and everybody, if they want to see it, can see where all the money went and what it bought. And, that way we can make sure that it's all transparent and I'm not taking anything out of it like Chille. I don't, I'm not going to dox the homeless 25 or 50% because it was sent to me first,
That was what I was going to ask. I already knew the answer, but I was going to ask about whether you kept a percentage for taxes and YouTube and all the rest of it, or whether all of the money that's donated to you for that cause goes to that cause.
The homeless, it all goes to it. It's a separate fund altogether. It never enters my bank account. It goes straight into a Cashapp, and I actually have a Cashapp card There's no bank account connected to that, so it's just that Cashapp card. So that way I can take whatever funds there and spend it wherever on whatever, and it keeps an electronic record so that I don't have to. It just made it a little bit easier for me to make sure that every dime I did get sent was spent on the homeless.
Yeah. Well, I already knew that that was the way you did it, but I just wanted to make it clear for anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know you.
Absolutely.
Now, I
as Art
understand
says out
whilst
there,
that's going on, people
I'm sorry,
will donate via super chats and things to help pay for your fuel and maybe to buy you a coffee.
absolutely, man. I have got the single best group on my channel on the internet. A lot of them are out there right now. A lot of them are out there in your chat right now. They are great, wonderful people. And I have been told, now I can't attest to this myself, but I've been told on more than one occasion by different people that people who would normally argue in another chat somewhere else on YouTube, when they come to my channel, they generally don't do that. And I wasn't aware that I had that effect on people, but that's what I've been trying to do. We can agree to disagree on my channel. That's the idea. My channel, we stand for something different. It's not about the arguments and the reasons we can separate. It's all the common ground we can find to stand on. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, and it's a great idea. Now, we're going to stop here for a minute with your tale so that the other panel members can come in with any questions they might have. But then afterwards, I'd like to talk to you about how you see things going forward from this point onwards.
Okay.
And I know you're going to tell me off for this, but I don't care. Becca, if you could post up Terry's channel up in the chat. If any of you who aren't would go there and like, share, and subscribe, we'd all be really grateful. And also, Terry at the moment has a few car issues that he's trying to get sorted. So if any of you are in the position and feel like you would like to, please donate to help him out.
Actually, they don't even have to do that. The cost is covered. I already have it. I just have to order the parts. And I'll be honest, I could have went outside today and took it apart. It's a drum. It's going to take me a bit, but it stayed in the 20s today, and I just didn't want to get out in the cold. I'll be honest. That's what kept me from it. But I'll get it fixed. It's all right. I appreciate it, though. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right. I'll unmute everybody, and any panel members who have any questions or questions from the chat, feel free.
Hey, Terry. First off, amazing story. Thank you for your service and thank you for what you continue to do. I, surprise, do have some questions. In one of the videos that I watched of Dickheads, he claimed that he was leaving a full-time auditor in Ironton who'd be out and about 24/7, basically carrying out Chille's wishes. When he left, what were his instructions or his directions to you? What were you supposed to do for him?
Well, I was supposed to serve any and all paperwork, make those trips to Cincinnati and get that stuff sorted and filed with the federal court and audit.
And did he give you any sort of direction about how to audit, what to audit, or anything?
Well, yeah, he gave me instruction, but I declined. I declined his advice. He had tried to explain that my job is to go out and knock the cops off their game. And I explained to him that rather than trying to covertly film or rather than trying to upset them so that they do hurt someone or violate their rights, I thought it was better to stand there with a camera and for them to know I was there and not violate anyone's rights because I was there and everything stayed safe because I was there, rather than my presence being the reason or the cause.
Yeah, and that's the right, we all think that's the right way to audit. So, perfect. But you also mentioned that you go and then discuss things with PD and the sheriff leadership.
Right.
So that means you have a good relationship there. Do you feel that by doing that and having that relationship with the leadership for both departments, you're actually having a good conversation with them, and that may well be the vehicle for change if any change is needed?
Well, if we are going to change anything, I know a lot of people think the cops are our enemies. The cops are not the enemies. They're just the ones they're the guys on the front line, right? They're the first guys up that governmental chain. They're the guys who are issuing the fines and doing the arrests. That doesn't necessarily make them bad people. But if you're going to do anything and make any kind of a change, would you not want the people inside the agencies, as many as you can get on your side, who want the same change as you do, would you not want them as allies? Why would you want to make them enemies because they wear the badge?
No, I entirely agree with you. Just amazing how you're using common sense and good ideas to get this done, and other fraudsters are just, bitching money on the side of the road about the fact that their camera's broken or their gimbal's gone or whatever it might be. On his way out of town on one of his videos, he mentioned he was going straight to California to empty his storage locker so he could come back and make Ironton his domicile. Did he ever threaten that before he left you guys, or
Oh yeah,
according
according to him, he had already changed the residence on his driver's license to Ohio and all kinds of shit that he was doing. He never did any of it, but he claimed a lot.
No, because he had a warrant out for his arrest by the time he got back, or would have got back.
Right. Well, he was supposed to come back and be governor. Remember, he's going to be the president of Ohio. He said at one point, but I think he meant to say governor.
Well, what he means to say what he says.
Terry, Blue Bear's got something for you in the chat.
Oh, is he having trouble hearing me out there? Am I coming in loud and clear, I guess?
It's just Blue Bear's old and deaf.
And he's been on shift today, so he just got back from work.
How you doing today, Sergeant Blue Bear?
So, I mean, do you know if anyone from either side, any citizens in town, got summoned to be standby witnesses for the court case? Had it got that far, or not?
For Chille's case?
Yeah.
Nothing's ever went to trial. The only trial that happened, he wasn't here for, and that's a city municipal matter. The other is stuck in the realm of being dismissed and continued every few days.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering. I mean, and those are the only sort of questions I had. But I mean, again, thank you for being on here tonight and just giving us the other side. If you just listen to the rhetoric from Dunska, from the cop womble, you would imagine that you were this worst person known to man, that you were out there causing chaos 24/7. And in fact, as you say, whenever you are around, there's this infectious sort of laughter and levity that follows your channel, and it's great to see and great fun to be part of. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And as I always say, life's a big joke. You better learn to stop and laugh at it somewhere. Have a good time.
No, definitely. Thanks, Dan.
Yes, sir.
No problem. Hank, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Going back to the day of the arrest for the trespass.
Okay.
Was he making a big deal about how many hundreds of people he was going to have at the location for?
He was into his camera and on the phone with some lady named Shauna. He was making it a big stink that he needed room for 200 or 300 people. Maybe there's going to be 200 or 300 people show up. He said, he repeats himself like 10 times in a row when he gets all excited.
So is it fair to say that the strong response of all the officers that Chief Wagner brought with her was due to Chille's own bullshit?
Yes, but there was, like I said, there was only 3 or 4 inside with him when they come in to actually arrest him. I think that she brought the rest of them simply because he he's a pretty thick guy. He's not very tall, but he outweighs me by probably like 150 pounds or so. So as far as being more massive, he definitely is. They may have thought that maybe he was going to fight because he did seem confrontational and agitated and, all that kind of stuff. If you watch, he said, we're having a protest, we're not leaving, so they probably expected a fight. I would have.
Okay. Because I was assuming that they brought this strong of a force just because he was proclaiming he was going to have a crowd.
Yeah, well, he proclaimed that. Unfortunately, he never had that. We had 3, and then as we walked to the city building, we found a 4th standing there trying to figure out where we were at. So there was a total of 4 of us following him at one point the day he got arrested.
Yeah, and the morning of the car auction, he was proclaiming that there was going to be thousands of people there for his protest.
Well, he tried that. He
Again,
wanted them to show up armed. Yeah, he tried that. The
yes.
same guy who showed up at the city council meeting with him showed up at the car auction. It was that one guy both times. So there's your thousands.
But Ironton had to have a strong police force there, which cost the city of Ironton tax money to have that response there.
Right, because you can't be sure when you're dealing. You have to understand, man. Down here, there are more guns than there are rocks on the ground. These people are heavily armed here. We all are. It's just something that's always been. I mean, I was born into it, so it definitely was before me, and it'll be after me. So if you think
I'm
for a
from
second
Texas.
that
I
if
think
you
there's
think
like four guns per person in the state of Texas.
I'm quite sure there's more than that in this local area. I'd almost
Yeah.
guarantee it. But anyway, if you think for a second that possibly this guy could have an influence on just 2 or 3 armed people, then you're going to need a big response with possibly more on the back burner to bring in as backup. I'd say that the police department probably did feel a little tense. He'd put them in kind of a bad light, and called people out to bring guns, which is obviously not the way it should be handled. But so yeah, I'd say that that I can imagine as the chief, felt like she had no choice but to make sure there's a strong presence there, because who knows what this idiot or some other idiot following him might be capable of.
Do you have any more questions, Hank?
That's all the ones I can remember.
I have a quick one.
Okay. Go on then, Chugs.
So very quickly, did he ever give you any indication as to who he thought his threat was? I mean, he asked you were carrying him, would you be his security? Did he ever indicate the threat he was facing?
No, he just said that he had received threats and that he had heard what he thought were people around the place he was staying at night.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's just making some shit up, to be honest with you.
One question I did have that I just remembered. Do you know what was around the situation with the individual who loan gave Chille the hand cannon?
What would you like to know? I'm pretty sure I know all the details.
Did Chille ever pay for that, or?
No, Chille never paid any cash money for that, but the guy who originally owned it agreed that since Chille had raised some money and gave him a set amount of it, that he would take that for payment, and Chille could have that hand cannon for that payment, and wrote a letter and signed it as to such.
Okay. We have a couple of questions from audience members. One is from It's Not a Boomer, who wants to know, have you seen his new cat video?
No, it's not a boomer. I have not seen it, but I guarantee you after this is over, I'm going to be looking for
it. It's Not a Boomer. If you send an email, I'm sure, to the channel email at WelshNewsNetwork@gmail.com, I'm sure Becca can call it up and we can all watch it if you'd like. Another one was, you were talking about the police officers around Ironton, and you are firmly of the belief that not all police officers are bad.
Right.
If you had to put a percentage on it of the police officers around that area, roughly what percent would you say were bad?
I don't know if I could give you a percentage. I mean, you have to understand we have like 15 or 20 Ironton police officers here, and know that I usually work with Ironton Police Department. I do not go out into the county with the Sheriff's Department because now you're dealing with private property, not public property, and private property is something that's held high here. And I have nothing but respect for the people here, so I don't do that. All I really deal with is the Ironton Police Department. I don't know that I could give you a percentage per se, but I think that the percentage of good outweighs the percentage of bad. That is my personal opinion as of this moment.
Okay.
I am willing
And
to
of
change
course,
that if the evidence points another way. I'm willing to update that view at any time. But for this exact moment, although I think there might be more than one there, it's possible. I think the percentage of good officers there outweighs the bad.
okay. And of course, you and Sovereign Soul were involved in one of the most hilarious and best trolls in the internet history. Now,
It was a
for
good one.
those of you who don't know, Terry and Sovereign Soul made a video of Terry being arrested and put it out there. Now, this entire thing was faked. I'm presuming it was a member of the Ironton PD that you got to play along?
No, actually, Sovereign Soul does not live here. He lives in Virginia. I had actually traveled to Virginia, and I was staying 2 or 3 nights with him. It was his next door neighbor. So when you watch that 26-second video of me being arrested, and that's all it is, was 26 seconds. If you pay attention, you'll see the 2 parked cars on either side of the cruiser. That's because it was in the gentleman's driveway. He backed it up about 6 feet away from the garage so I could lean over the hood. But we were literally less than 30 yards from Sovereign's front door.
And of course, famously, Chille reacted to your little troll video.
Oh, yes, for a man who hates torture cuffs and rape cages, he was sure happy as hell to think that maybe I was enduring it. It made his day. For a minute.
And then, of course, you revealed that it was all false.
Well, we waited on him to go live because we were, 99% sure as soon as he heard about it, he's going to go live and gloat over it. So that's what he did. It took 47 minutes exactly. And by 49 or 50 minutes into that, Sovereign and I had went live restreaming his live, making fun of him as he was joyfully gleeing, and dancing around because I had been arrested. We were actually restreaming his live stream doing that and making fun of him while he was doing it. So there you go.
Country Josh asks if you're doing any auditing tonight.
No, not tonight. I have a brake problem with my car, and if I drive it the way it is, it's going to damage the drums worse. I need to replace the brake shoes, Josh, so I won't be out driving around. I may do a live here in a little bit. I'm definitely going to do one tomorrow evening. I won't be able to audit, but I will definitely have a live tomorrow evening. I may go on at a little bit later tonight. I don't know. It depends on what life throws at me. I do have one of those outside of YouTube, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I could just be Ironton Auditor 24/7, but sometimes I have to stop that nonsense and be Terry Nip for a little while and take care of my own responsibilities.
Wait, Terry, are you actually saying there's a life outside of YouTube?
Unfortunately for me, I didn't have YouTube as a life. It just got jammed into my already busy life. So
you don't walk around 24/7 filming yourself?
no, I don't do that. If you've noticed, and there was a point, I actually I gotten a little bit extra on the YouTube money because of my wonderful people out there making sure I got coffee and gas. I went and bought donuts and took them to the police department. I took 2 dozen in for the morning shift, and I waited till night and took the other 2 dozen into the night shift. And as I told them, everybody thinks that I am the star of Ironton Auditor, but actually that's not really true. The Ironton Police Department has been the stars of my channel, and they've appeared on my camera way more than I have. And I felt it only fair that they got something out of it. And I appreciate the fact that they don't try to shoot me or kill me, and that they let me get in close, and that they don't fear me. And, So I was just trying to say thanks.
Well, I'm sure by this
Tina.
point they've come to know you.
Well, they have. We've gotten to know each other okay. You know, it's still like a professional relationship. I mean, we don't hang out in the backyard and drink beers and barbecue or anything. You know, I only see them in uniform. But yeah, I'd say we have a pretty good rapport established, I think.
Well,
Have
this
you
is
ever done
important.
one of the ride-alongs that you were talking about?
I've rode along 5 different times, actually. Those videos of the stops that happened during them are on my channel. Yeah, the way you'll know is I'm filming from inside the police car because the condition of the ride along is I'm not allowed to get out of the car.
And I think you sell yourself short, Terry. You are definitely one of the stars of the show.
Oh, I'm just the guy that keeps it going in between stops.
That's not true. People tune in to listen to you and hear what you have to say.
Well,
Now,
I'm glad that they show up. I sure am.
To be nice to Terry and to give him a little bit of a break from being interrogated so much, we'll call up Boomer's cat video so we can all have a look.
I like it.
Alrighty then.
I like it.
I would just like to say those are not cats, those are shaved rats. Nope, I will not be convinced that those things are cats. Nope. Not having. No.
May I say something to your chat, sir?
Of course.
I just wanted to say thanks, guys, for all the wonderful things that y'all have said about me out there. I've been reading it. Unfortunately, I'm backstage, so I can't chat back in the chat, but I have been reading it. And guys, I appreciate it so much. I'm so humbled that y'all think such great things about me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Our chat on the whole are pretty nice people and pretty good judges of character. They wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't true, Terry.
Well, I sure do appreciate it. Sometimes it's hard for me to take a compliment. I don't think low of myself exactly. A lot of people think that I do. I don't. I just don't think I'm above anybody else. You know what I mean? I'm just another guy at the bottom of the pile, scratching, trying to get midway up like everybody else. You know, I don't feel special.
Hey Dan, speaking of the chat, one of our regulars is probably feeling forgotten about. We haven't done drinking words for Rebel yet.
Oh, yeah, there's a point. Okay, we'll have drinking words. Shuggy, what you got? Yeah, this'll be, he wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
Yes, he was. Totally paying attention. He was just trying to think of a better word than the normal one, but I'm going to go with cockwomble because it's easy.
Hank?
For Tina Slay, I'll do twat waffle.
Terry, would you like to join in the game? You basically pick a word, and whenever that word's mentioned, our audience can either take a drink or not.
I don't even know what word to pick. You guys go ahead. I'll just watch from here.
Okay. Becca, I don't know if you're able to speak because I know you're having issues with your dog at the moment. Because for those that don't know, Terry. Okay. Thanks, Becca. I just got a message saying arsehole is my word, and I'm not sure if she's referring to Chille or me.
Or the dog.
And I'm going to go, just because of how vague someone was, I'm going to go with bitch. Yeah, I can play that game too.
I haven't seen Rebel in the chat tonight.
Neither have I, but we have them anyway.
Exactly.
Did you see
Well, Mark
Stevie's?
says.
Did you see Stevie's comment there, sir?
Stevie's comment. I didn't, but I should
At
go look.
8:13, it says, Terry, do you realize you're having a conversation with a man, Dan, that's not wearing pants? And I just wanted to
Again?
say that I have someone in my chat who never wears pants. His name is Jackie Hale. He never wears pants and always has a big jar of peanut butter. So I'm used to it. It's no big thing to me.
Pants are overrated.
Who says I'm not wearing pants? I'm not denying I may have occasionally done this stream without pants.
That's why I don't have my camera on. I didn't even wear my face today.
I can't really deny that I've also done it shirtless, because there is video evidence of it.
Disgusting behavior.
Engineers are not like you deck officers. We are not prudes.
Here we buddy go again.
Yeah. So, Terry, I wanted to ask you about your future plans and how you see things moving forward and what you'd like to achieve.
Well, my overall goal, of course, is always to unite the people. And it doesn't matter who you are. I don't care where you're from, your sexual orientation, skin color, none of that makes any difference, because I found that we all want the same things. We want that basic life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We want to be able to get up, take care of our family, do what we need to do without that guy over there coming to interfere. That's all of us want, regardless of what our life pursuits are for the most part. So if we can get together and stand on that common ground, educate each other and learn things as we go, because I don't know everything. I don't claim to, but if we become that moral, responsible, we the people, united we stand, we can actually make the change that we need to make so bad. The reason it is as bad as it is because good people are not doing anything to prevent it or to stop it or to change it. And ultimately, I want to, I'm not a leader, so I'm not trying to lead. What I'm trying to do is lead the people together so that we, the people, can lead. Now, as far as my channel, I have a second channel that I've just started. I put one video on it. It had so few subscribers, I couldn't even go like over 10 minutes. So I've just got one of my old videos on it for now. But I'm going to be going on there. And when I do the reviews of my videos, I think I'll do it on that channel. I'm going to, that one's called Irontown Accountability. And because it does not contain the word auditor, maybe people will accept it for what it's going to be. It's going to be more of a reporting platform, to talk about things here locally, rather than just an auditing channel.
That sounds interesting, and the link is in the chat for all those who would like to go and subscribe. Do you see yourself doing more work with the homeless, with veterans groups, with those kind of things?
Yes, I would like to. Unfortunately, I'm only one person, but I have started to form a huge network, especially across the country and across the world. People like yourself, I have a huge network of people that I can talk to, learn from, and get advice from. I just hope that it's only been within the last few months that the local people have started to come back to my channel, that they have started to pay attention again. That they realize, first of all, I'm not going anywhere. And secondly, that I'm not the guy they thought I was, that I'm not Chille, I'm nothing like him, that I'm not any other auditor, I'm nothing like them either. And that my goals are completely different. I see things from a different perspective. And I think that most people will agree with me, not because I'm right or more educated, just because it's what everybody wants, So I hope that here in the local area, as we continue to meet each other and consolidate, that we'll have a group big enough to actually affect real change right here at home. Once we've done that, then we'll have an idea. We can show other people, hey, look, here's an idea. Here's a cookie cutter skeleton you can hang your own actions on. And I do realize, Welsh, that I'll probably never live long enough to see 90% of what I'm really after. but I just hope there'll be somebody come up behind me who can take the mantle. I can pass it on to them when I'm too old to do this, because it's coming. I'm already, I'll be 49 here in a couple months.
Oh, that's not old. Just ask Shuggy.
I knew that was coming too. I wish to make a sort of a comment on one of your answers there, Terry, very, very quickly. You said you're not a leader, but you're leading people to do something. I'm sorry, you are. You're inspirational. You are leading, and you may not be saying to people, "Come on, follow me," but you're leading by example. You're leading by doing and showing what to do, and that's the best type. So I think again, you need to actually think that you are a leader and you're doing it the right way.
Well, I had an uncle tell me once that instead of, see, a lot of times, being a hillbilly, you'll have a group of hillbillies stand around a fire in the winter with some beer sitting off to the side, slushing up in the snow, and you stand there, and what you do is you fix the world's problems in 5 minutes. In other words, you got a bunch of people bitching about what's going on. This is happening, that's happening, this is going on. My uncle told me once, he said, you can either continue to do that and be part of the problem, and bitch about it and complain about what's wrong, or you could maybe lead by example and be that which you wish everyone else would be. And so
I think you're doing that.
Well, I'm certainly trying. I'm just trying to show them a different way. It's not necessarily better. It's just a way that, no, I haven't seen anyone try yet. I've not seen the people come together. I've seen them get further apart. I've seen them find reasons to argue and stand at odds rather than coming together. I mean, whether you want to call it red, blue, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, black, white, none of that shit really matters. Every black person, every gay person, every straight person, every white person wants the same stuff. You know what I mean? We want the same things in life. So there's no reason we can't stand together, accomplish that, make sure that our lives are the way they need to be, and that we are caring for people, the veterans and the homeless and all of that stuff. And we can always break off back into our groups and argue about that petty little stuff later. I mean, there'll always be time to bitch and argue with each other, won't there?
Yeah, around the fire with a beer after college football.
Absolutely.
Hey, Terry, I've got a suggestion for you for locating the homeless.
Yes, sir.
If you've got a DAV, a American Legion, or any of the other veterans organizations in your area,
we do have a American Legion.
stop in and have a chat with the service officer. They might be able to help steer you where at least the homeless vets are located.
Well, the thing is they're not located inside Ironton. That's just, it's not like the city's so big that they wouldn't be found. You know what I mean? It's not like I haven't seen a few. It's just that there's not the hundreds and hundreds that have been quoted. They are not there.
Yeah, but the Legion service officer can network with the other area legions and let you know where they're at. Whether usually small towns don't have a big problem with homeless because the towns are able to take care of it on their own.
Well, we have many services that they get people into, and sometimes if we don't have the room in Ironton, it's opened up and they'll go to Ashland or Huntington or one of the surrounding cities in either Kentucky or West Virginia. So they network pretty well to keep most people and most things going. As long as those people are actively seeking help, it seems like most of it's there. It's just occasionally someone slips through the cracks, Okay. But yes, I will stop by there. And you say to ask for who?
The service officer.
Service officer. All right. I'll write that down, and I will go by there and ask for the service officer, and I will speak with them about it. I will take your advice. Thanks, Hank. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck with it.
Now, I know you don't just help the homeless. You also help people with little jobs they may not be able to do, patching up their car, a little bit of stuff around their homes and stuff for those who aren't able or can't afford to.
I do everything I can for those I can, for sure.
Do you see that hopefully expanding as well as the years progress?
Actually, I see that decreasing. Like I said, I'm getting older. It's getting harder. Um, you have to understand, man, what I've done is I've created a channel where I go out and brutalize myself in my car every weekend. You know, if I go out and I drive around for 8 hours, 3 nights a week, that's 24 hours of straight mileage and maintenance on a vehicle that it doesn't normally have to have. It's going to wear that one out 10 times faster. I'm creating a lot of money pit for myself is what I'm doing. And as far as helping people, yeah, I'd love to be able to do more, but I can't do it alone. That's just it. I can only do as much as I can do because not only am I trying to maintain a YouTube channel, but I'm also trying to maintain a personal life and do what I can for everybody else during that. And it's sometimes my plate is so full that it's very hard for me to get to the next, the next ability to help somebody. And if there were more people to help, that would be great. Unfortunately, right now it's just me, and so I wouldn't be able to expand a whole lot as far as like personally coming and fixing things. I don't have a network of people who are able and willing to do that. Most of those people have a job where they do fix cars all day. The last thing they want to do is do it for free on the weekend when they're not working.
Terry, here's a thought. Is there an active Boy Scout troop in Ironton?
Not to my knowledge. There may be, but if there is, it's completely unbeknownst to me.
If you find a local Boy Scout troop, they're always looking for opportunities to do service projects or badge work or whatever. They might be a good resource to help you cut a yard or, get bush or whatever else might be picked up. So that might be a good place to look at.
I will absolutely look into that. I will do that when I go to the
Another one
Legion.
good one to talk to, Terry, is actually the probation service.
Okay.
They always have people who need to do their hours doing various projects. It's one of the things they struggle with is they can't discharge people because they haven't done their community service hours.
Here, they usually put them on working on the exits. They'll put them out there with weed eaters and things to pick up trash. I know what they do with them here, but I could look into that. I doubt if they'd want to cooperate with me, but we'll see. We'll find out. I'll try.
Also, the service officer, like Hank was saying, would probably have one or two veterans who would be more than happy to get involved.
Yeah. Being a veteran yourself, you might have a chat with them, and I think you'll find a lot of your goals mirror the goals of the Legion.
And Terry, someone in the chat said high school kid. Sorry, Hank.
Oh. Yeah, you might be able to kill two birds with one stone.
Well, I'll definitely give a shot and speak to him. We'll see what we can do.
In the chat, Sherry Tilly says high school kids too for community service hours.
Okay.
For that, you would go talk with the.
Well, I think first of all, I need to explain that usually when I go to someone's place to do something, it's not just picking up trash out of the yard or mowing the grass. That's not usually why I'm asked to do things. So, when they ask you to come in and for instance, maybe they want a wall built here, or maybe they need their furnace fixed and it's internal parts and you have to decide what's wrong with it or their car. I can't just use anybody from anywhere in order to do that, especially high school kids. So I understand what you're saying. And if I run across something like that and it needed to be done, for say an old person needs a bunch of stuff moved from the attic, that kind of thing. Sure, we could do that, but that's not, most people don't contact me for that kind of stuff. It's usually typically to fix something.
If you want to find the high school students that are needing the service hours, the high school guidance counselor would be your point of contact.
Right.
Because to be competitive for the major colleges now, you need community service.
I think the answer here, Terry, is I think you're looking too small. I mean, it sounds like you've got, Ironton's a wee town. Maybe you should be looking further afield and doing, there are these people that would help. Have at it. Go for it. Expand.
Well,
Grow.
you have to understand what I would like to see here is that people follow that example, that they start helping each other so that they call on me less. Does that make sense? If everybody helped someone they knew that needed help, just something small, like if you're walking down the road and you see your neighbor up working on his roof and you're just taking a walk, why are you not climbing the ladder and seeing what you can do to help them? That kind
Yeah,
of thing.
they'll always need a coordinator to make sure that anyone that does contact is looked after. So you'll always have a role, despite who does the work.
Well, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need a team like Chille talked about. I don't exactly have that team yet. I'm still trying to build it.
It'll come.
Yeah. And anyone who's listening to this in the Ironton area, why don't you get in contact with Terry?
And Terry, when you find that team, I've got a house in the Scottish borders that needs re-roofing, replastering. I'd love some help doing that, please, bud.
I got you, man. We'll see what we can do. I don't know if my little Hyundai will drive across the ocean there, but we'll see what we can do.
Shuggy, when you're talking plastered, that's getting extremely drunk, right?
No, that's a reward for doing a plastering on the walls.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think that's about all the questions we have for you, Terry, unless there's something else you'd like to talk about.
I don't know of anything in particular. I just come on to be poked and prodded, man, and do the best I can to answer the questions that you ask. I hope that I've divulged enough information.
In spades, you've done that very well, very articulately as well.
It's been great having you on. I know you and I talk to each other as we catch each other between the insane amount of live streaming and stuff that we both do, and always try and pop in each other's chats, even if it's just to say hello.
Right. I have my rounds that I make. There's probably 20, maybe 25 different channels that if I can catch them on, sometimes I get up and there's 4 or 5 channels going. So I'm just running from chat to chat just to say hi, just to let them know I'm there and I support their channel, and what they're doing.
Well, it's nice when you do, and I know that it means a lot to everybody when you do it, and we try and reciprocate the best we can.
Well, it's definitely appreciated. I'm always surprised, that the big names come into my chat. I'm always humbled when they show up, for sure. And like I said, I've got the best group, man. The core group that rides with me, I couldn't ask for anybody better. They are the most wonderful people that you could hope to find. Different places, different countries, different ideas, different. They don't agree with me with everything I say about everything I talk about, but they don't get mad at me because I have a certain belief. We're okay to agree to disagree on small things so that we can agree on the things that matter. And I love each and every one of them. They've really become, when I'm not out there, I miss them. When I'm not able to live stream, I miss it. It's like something's missing, from my fun and the day and the week. My heart has a hole in it because I didn't get to talk to everybody. So it's kind of taken over a special part of my life. I just thought it was going to be a YouTube channel. I didn't realize that it was going to turn into like having an extended family, and that's what it's becoming, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, it does. A lot of your chat, especially the regulars, end up becoming friends and people that you have a personal investment in. You want to see them doing well.
Right.
Well, again, thank you for joining us, Terry. It's up to you if you want to hang around and that. We're going to cover the Poison Dwarf's latest live that he did today. And I know that you find it very difficult to watch too much of him without getting very irate.
Yes, he has a way of bringing anger out of me, unlike anyone I've ever met. I'm a very tiny guy, as we discussed. I'm 5'4". I weigh 148 pounds. I have been picked up by big men and thrown like a rag doll in my life. I have been. And the one thing I absolutely hate is a bully. I hate them. And Chille has become that big bully. And he draws it out of me. So yes, I try not to watch him. But thank you so much, everybody here, for being as wonderful as you have. I really do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell my story on your channel. Thank you very much.
Oh, we're honored to have you with us, Terry. And we're also, while we're on the subject, I also want to thank you for connecting us with Tim and Sarah.
Oh,
It meant a lot to us that you trusted us enough to put that connection together.
Well, I just appreciate that you treated them right. You know, I really do. I truly am about people helping people, and I don't always have the help that they need. I wish I was, you know, like Super Terry, but I'm not. You know, even Terry has his limits, but because of this wonderful YouTube community, we're able to help each other a little more in different ways now. You know, and I just appreciate you being the upstanding guy you are and trying to help. Thank you for that.
Oh, we always try to be. And yeah, I agree with you about Chille and his bullying tactics. It annoys me. It especially annoys me when he tries to weaponize the law in the way he has done with going after Kate and Josh.
I want to bend him over my knee and bust his little ass. He acts like a 9 or 10-year-old little boy, and I want to do for him what his daddy never did, turn him into a man.
I don't think that's possible in this case.
That doesn't mean I won't beat him to find out.
I honestly think he is beyond redemption.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. I'd still like to slap him a few times just to make me feel better, though.
See, I can never understand why, other than just plain bullying. I mean, I can disagree with people. Shuggy, Hank, Becca, myself, you. We don't always agree on everything. And we'll vocalize to each other that we disagree with them on a subject. However, we won't try and bully them, the other person, because we disagree. And that is all this lawsuit is. It is bullying.
Right. Right. Just bullying tactics, hoping you're going to give in to whatever crazy demands he's made.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to go about life unless he bullies. He doesn't know any other way.
That's the thing. If it was about the law and a matter of doing things correctly and people not following the rules, fine, have at it, sue them. That's your right, do it. But to weaponize the law, to try and use it as a bully tactic is wrong.
Well, that and to outright make shit up just to file a lawsuit about it. Like to break the law and then turn around and say they violated your civil rights and file a suit over it is redundant and ridiculous. But he does it.
Yeah. Well, I think he firmly believes it's one rule for him and another rule for everybody else.
Well, of course it is. He believes in freedom of speech unless it's yours. He believes, he believes in the First Amendment as long as he gets to do it, but you shouldn't be able to, because he's the great Chille and you, of course, you're just you.
Yeah, I did.
He's a Hollywood actor, damn it.
Oh, yes, and we should all bow down and worship his celebrity and authority. Yeah, okay. I did wonder.
Super human.
Super unnecessary. I did wonder, though, Terry, if when Chille was going around doing his insane copyright strikes for anyone who'd ever said anything nasty about him in their entire life, did you get hit with any?
No, not a one. And he knows better. He knows who he can bully and who he can't. He doesn't bother trying to bully me. He might say my name might slip out of his mouth every now and then, but that's because I live rent free in his head. It eats at him.
Well, yeah, I think we're in the same position because the two times he's tried to bully this channel, neither have worked out quite how he wanted and have worked out better for us.
Right. Well, every time he's tried to destroy my integrity, all he's done is help to bolster it and destroy his own. He's done it at every turn. All I have to do is let him be him.
That's a very good point.
This is true. Right, I think we'll start the video. And again,
well, I'll be honest,
here,
if you're done with me, I will drop off. I got to be honest, I can't handle any Chille tonight. I'm in too good of a mood. I appreciate you letting me be here, and thank you to everybody out there in the chat. Y'all know I love you to death. Thank you for being here. I sure do appreciate it, guys. I wish you all the best night.
Thanks for coming up and sharing your tale.
Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.